Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. A show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, trade talks are heating up, and what could the return be for the Flyers? Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers, and wow, man, I'll tell you what. Oh, we got another good one lined up for you guys tonight. What do you think, Lance?
I think so. I'm ready.
Yep, for sure. SteelFlyers All Sports Network would like to present the Hockey Writers Inc. episode number 67. Trade talks are heating up, and what could the return be for the Flyers? And I'll tell you what, Lance, you wrote two really awesome articles that we are going to really dive into the deep end on for sure. And there's a couple other things that we want to get into. We were both very blessed and privileged to be able to cover the last two games. Lance was at the Edmonton game, and I was at the Washington game, as far as that's concerned. So we want to talk about that. We also want to talk about, we have a giveaway here, folks. I'm reaching out here, and I'm going to show you guys the T-shirts here that we're going to give away.
Dun, 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 dun.
So there is a black Hockey Writers Inc. T-shirt. Right here, let me move the microphone out of the way. Okay, there's the black one, right? So we got that one. And then we got a gray one. Man, I'll tell you what, guys. These look really hot. Okay, seriously, man. These look really hot. So what we're going to do is we're going to give these away. And I think, here's what I'm thinking, Lance. I'm thinking we mark the 25th person that retweets it and follows us or whatever, or follows
right.
and gets the shirt. What do you think?
That sounds great. Great.
Yep. So we're giving away 2 free T-shirts, right? So when we tweet out the episode of the show, right? So what we'll do is we'll ask you to retweet the show and hopefully check us out, of course. Right, and then retweet us out and hit us up as a follow, and that'll enter you in to be in the running for the T-shirts. Okay, so these are 2 free T-shirts, are $25 a piece. They're made. These ones here are made by Jerseys, so that's good quality T-shirts. That they wash real well. Okay. I'm actually wearing the SteelFlyers one tonight. Right. Last week on the show I was wearing the Hockey Writers Inc. T-shirt. So we'll have a banner. We'll show you guys and everything. So yeah. So the 25th person that retweets out the link to the show and follows will be in the drawing. We'll get you guys to a free swag, and then once we announce that person, you guys just DM me then, and we'll get you the information, and we'll send out the T-shirts for you. So Lance has got some. He wears them. We sent some out to our buddy Connor Kruth, and it took a picture of him wearing a swag too. So
yeah,
man, all good, all exciting. So here we go, man. Let's get into it. Okay, so thankfully I was able to get credentialed to go to the game on Saturday, the 26th of February against the Washington Capitals. And I got to tell you, the game was amazing. The fact that they scored within the first 11 seconds
Very
I was
exciting.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, you just sit down, you just get comfortable, and you're like, oh, score. Hey, all right, this is going to be a good game. And
Right.
it was. It really was. Philadelphia played good. They had heart. They had some want to. They had a really, it was probably one of the best games that I got to see so far this season, where all the lines were contributing, whether it was hits, whether it was blocking shots, whether it was chasing down Washington Capitol players, whether it was, standing up to Tom Wilson. I mean, you got Zach dropping the gloves to the boy Tom, and what is he giving up? Like 4 or 5 inches and like 20 or 30 pounds or something on him, but
Kid's got heart. Yeah.
okay, right. So you saw the heart, you got to see the leadership, you got to see Giroux score. I mean, it was one of the best games of the year for a Philadelphia Flyer, for watching how Carter Hart made save after save and kept them in the game, even when there were power plays given to Washington that shouldn't have been, you know what I mean? And that's exactly how they scored their one goal, you know what I mean? But it wasn't Ovechkin. And they held Ovechkin off the score sheet. Now you flip the coin a little bit here and go, I'm going to give some credit to the Flyers, but I'm also going to say I don't necessarily think that Washington's heart was all the way in it.
Right.
Okay. Now, that was Saturday. Okay. Great game. Awesome win. It was probably about 80% capacity, right?
Much
the place
needed,
was hopping. There was, and people, and, I was like, all right, it was a good game. Yeah, okay. And it was charity night and lots of stuff going on. It was great. And then Lance, with Flyers Nitty Gritty, gets to cover the game on the following, the next game, which was against Edmonton, which was on
Tuesday, was it? Wednesday.
Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday, I think.
Tuesday,
Whatever.
yeah.
Whatever. All the days run together now, yeah.
Yeah, right. So Tuesday. So Lance, give us a breakdown of that game.
So, as totally different game, totally different outcome. The Flyers looked struggling, to say the least. There was a lot of penalties, and as we know, you cannot give Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl too many chances on the power play. And I think there was 5 or 6 penalties that the Flyers took, and some of them were some rather bad penalties, rather stupid penalties, and even trippings and different stuff that didn't necessarily need to be taken, and it really hurt the team. So I mean, and they capitalized that. I think Draisaitl had 3 points on the night. If you give that guy, he's very talented. One of my favorite players in the league that's not in a Flyers uniform. And rightfully so. He capitalized on it, and they're gonna make you regret those mistakes. And in doing so, I think Carter Hart had another pretty decent game, as he has had all season long. His numbers don't really reflect where his play is. Last season, I wanted to try to ask him in the presser after the game, but it was really somber. Really didn't want to, anybody get asked or answer too many questions at all. After the game in the press conference, they just wanted to get the heck out of there. They're hanging their heads a little low. Yeah. But I think Carter Hart, compared to last season when he went through his struggles, even though the team has struggled this season, he has really been a solid piece to really keep the games close, at least. Yes, they're still losing a lot of games, but even with the team not contributing any offense at all, even though they outshot Edmonton in that game, they were held into it because of Carter Hart's strong play. Yeah. And that's been the case for most of this season. When he's been in net, he's really been focused. Even though they're losing games, he's really stayed focused. He's really keeping them in games, and that's what you want to see from a young goaltender. But I fear if this is the case and he has to do that for too long, it could ruin him, like the Flyers have ruined so many good goaltenders in the past. So.
Exactly. And so it was actually, it was the tale of two teams here. I mean, it was like, Saturday game, it was, guys were up on their skates and, everybody was skating, passing the puck. You could, I remember we were talking about in the last show, we talk about how, when you could tell a team is doing real well and you can hear the sound of the puck hitting the stick, and those crisp passes and stuff like that, and you could hear that, and it was refreshing. It was like, yeah, all right, these guys are jamming tonight, and okay. So, but not so much a game against Edmonton. And, here's the thing too. Washington, I think, is an all-around better team as far as balanced. They have better defense. They have better goaltending than what Edmonton does all day long. Edmonton has much more dynamic players with Draisaitl and McDavid. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you only get Ovechkin and whoever decides to show up that night. You know what I mean?
Carlson or whoever, yeah.
Right, and sometimes even Ovechkin's not showing up. Now, the last couple of nights, they're on a 4 or 5 game skid now. The Capitals are, or something like that, and he's been stuck at like 762. He's like 3 goals away from Yager's record or whatever. He wasn't getting it on Saturday, that's for sure. But boy, it sure looked like Edmonton could do whatever they wanted, man. Their power play looked, flawless. They once again, Philadelphia just seems to just waste away their power play opportunities by spending so much time back at their end regrouping, and standing around waiting for guys to skate into a spot to where it's like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I think they talked a lot after the game as well, and they really and the coach and especially really laid it out there. Mike said that he feels the guys are passing too much, especially Konechny in that aspect. Really needs a kid that can score. He's proven he can score over previous seasons, and he's really just not thinking a shoot first mentality like he once did. And we're really getting right back into that power play where we had Giroux and Voracek back in the day, passing the puck, and nobody wanting to shoot. Shane Gostisbehere isn't there anymore to just shoot the puck. And, I really don't know why Ristolina isn't shooting the puck as much as he was in Buffalo. And, there's just a lot of players, Fairby and different stuff that should be putting in some goals, and Cam should be putting in some goals, but really didn't that night. They weren't really shooting the puck, even though they had outshot the Oilers.
Yeah, they had more
shots. They weren't quality shots in close or anything like that. They were ripping them from the outside,
like way outside. Those really off
not really
angles.
Trying to come in, and to give Koshinson a shutout. He's one of the, in my mind, he's one of the least talented starters in the league. So
if you really call him a starter
anymore, he's
because now that Smith is back for Edmonton.
Yeah, Edmonton. Smith is a little long in the tooth, though.
That's the thing that really killed me about Edmonton is that they went out and got Duncan Keith, who is really long in the tooth, right? Yeah. And then they also re-signed the same goaltenders that were there the last year, which failed them in the playoffs miserably. Yeah. And it's like, well, why did you bring back the same two? That's why I was like, I actually thought that Philadelphia had more of a shot to win the game against Edmonton than they did against Washington.
Washington, yeah.
Yeah, because of the goaltending. Mm-hmm. And, look, all you have to do is not let Connor McDavid dipsy-do the entire team multiple times. You know,
I think they did an okay job containing McDavid, but they left Draisaitl kind of open.
I mean, you pick your poison.
Right. So
You know.
they're going to burn you either way.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think, the Edmonton's defense is a little offensive minded with, Tyson Barrie and all that. And they would be a lot better if they got some stay-at-home defensemen. I think them losing Ethan Bear really hurt them.
Yeah, I agree.
And, Bunting or whatever before him, a lot of lower down the roster guys, but some solid defensive defensemen, and they've really slacked on goaltending. It's hard for me to believe that if they offered a contract to a quality goaltender, free agent wise, to come join them, that they wouldn't want to come play with guys that can win games like Draisaitl and McDavid scoring goals. I mean, you're bound to win 30 games a season, 40 games a season as a starting goaltender for them if you just keep them in it. I mean, they're going to score 4 goals a game. I mean, let's be honest. Like,
that's all you have to do is just keep them in it.
Right.
It's not like you have to be a Dominic Hasek or a Patrick Wall or anything. You know what I'm saying? Gosh, you could just be a Van Beesbrook.
Yeah.
And be somebody like that and just take care of business. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I really don't think that Edmonton has had a quality goaltender, much like the Flyers before Carter Hart came around. But they really haven't had a quality goaltender for some time. I mean, Grant Fuhrer, Bill Ranford, maybe like that. That's the last.
That was the last time. Yeah.
That's the last, definitely great goaltender that they had, and it's sad for a franchise that has had so many great stars over the years.
Is that story
some of the best ever, in the league, and really just haven't put the time or effort to go out there and get a quality goaltender.
I think that we can speak to our partners in the show at SteelFlyers, the great Pearl of Wisdom and the great Peyton on the radio. They do a lot of games. They get to watch a lot of the Edmonton games. They actually did the Edmonton game against Philadelphia. Peyton was live for that game, and those guys know Edmonton inside and out, and they were, number one, they were very happy with the new coach that got hired, and then they were also just very disappointed in the fact that they re-signed the same goaltenders. It's like, all right. So,
just like they settled,
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on here with Philadelphia. You know what I mean? And I think with the first article that we want to get into that you wrote, because you wrote 2 great articles in the last week or so here, Lance, that we want to get into. And the first article we want to talk about here was posted to FlyersNittyGritty.com website. With trades already happening, Flyers Claude Giroux's exodus will most likely be delayed. And Lance, this could not come at a better time, I think, in my opinion. I mean, there is so much talk out there, but in the grand scheme of things, there's really not much going on right now.
Right. There's a lot of talk. I mean, at the Edmonton game, I saw some great NHL legends walking around.
You told me, I was like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, some big names. They had the big scouts out for sure for a lot of teams. I believe there was 15 or 16 team scouts there for the Edmonton game. So the Flyers are obviously being scouted. But in this article, I pointed out, a lot of talks have been happening. Calgary, who I like the fact that they made this trade and went out there and got Tyler Tinolfi a little early. Yep. So he can come in and really, get a handle on where the team's at and get some chemistry going before the playoff push. I believe they gave up, quite a bit there for him, but a first round pick and more. And Tyler Pitlick, a former Flyer, and a prospect. So, but they got their guy. I think they're going to lose potentially Johnny Gaudreau in the offseason.
In the offseason, yeah.
Yep. So they went out and got a guy that is going to be around and could possibly, be there for seasons moving forward.
Calgary was one of the teams too that was on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Giroux was saying that he would accept a deal from, you know what I mean, right? If I do recall that, yes.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's kind
of hearsay to a point.
It's hearsay to a point, yeah. But I believe he was on one of his short list. They were on his short list. But, the reason why I think this, potential, if it does happen, Claude Giroux trade is delayed because, his 1,000th career game is coming up for the Flyers. And, it's going to be money. Everybody's going to want to come see, they know his time may be coming to a close. There's a lot of talks up there. Like I said, when I was up moving around, getting a drink in between periods, there's a lot of talk going around.
Well, there was also, I was just also going to say, there was also a lot of folks at the Washington game as well.
Right.
Too. So guys that haven't been around the team in a long time were showing up there on the Saturday game too. So
for sure,
look, you put this article out because of exactly this specific issue right here, okay? And I don't think it would be a good idea for Philadelphia to trade him
beforehand.
Yeah, before he reaches that milestone, because that would be him reaching that milestone with one team. And then what's really going to be messed up is that the 17th, March 17th,
right,
is when
he's supposed to hit 1,000.
And the trade deadline is
the 21st. Yeah.
So thanks for your 1,000 games and see ya.
Get out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's the here and there. I think that, ultimately Claude Giroux holds all the cards. He has a full no movement clause. Yeah. So him and his, lawyer or whatever, are going to sit there and agent are going to sit there and really depict all this and where they go and when and everything like that. So my thought process on this is, teams like Calgary are already making trades, but some teams are getting earlier and earlier with these trades. They're not, it used to be, I used to call out from work on trade deadline day just to sit there and watch all the trades come in and watch all the banter on Twitter and all this stuff on who's going where. But it's really limited nowadays because a lot of teams are making deals before the deadline.
Yeah.
Before the deadline.
I remember not that long ago as well, where we would set up a conference room and we would have the Sportsnet running from TSN, and we had the NHL network on, and we had all these other outlets on in this one room, so that every couple of hours you could go into the room and go check and see who got traded where, who got what, or whatever. And now it's like it's a whole different ball game now, and I am in that school of thought of what Calgary did with Toffoli. And why? What are you waiting for? Okay, when it comes to Giroux, though, I can understand. Mm-hmm. Okay, and everybody is probably saying the same thing. Oh, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Blah blah blah. I'm like, well, that's kind of a slap in the face.
Well, it means something to him. It means something to him to play 1,000 games here.
Oh, that's what I mean. It would be a slap in the face to Giroux if the team were like, yeah, it's been a slice, and try to do something now.
Yep. But at the same time, I fear that other teams like are going to be like Calgary and want to get their guy a little early. I mean, there is other guys out there like Kessel from Arizona, JT Miller from Vancouver, Columbus's Max Domi, Anaheim's Richard Rankel. All those guys are available and maybe, not going to give you, besides Kessel, the kind of output that Giroux still can, but they're going to have a guy and they're not going to wait until the last minute to be in a battle with 3 other teams trying to wait for Giroux and miss out on getting a guy or to come in. You know what I mean? They'll settle for somebody else. And that's kind of what I fear out of
I think there's going to be
having
some
to
teams that are
wait.
going to do that. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think there's going to be some teams that are going to do that, but I also think there's going to be teams that'll wait because they can. Like I'll use this as an example because I'm just going to throw it out there. Carolina or even Colorado are teams that potentially could be landing spots for Giroux. Okay, and those teams do not need Giroux right now. But they're doing just fine. It's not like they're in a hurt position right now. They don't need anybody to come in and do anything. So that allows them that opportunity to wait a little bit and allow Giroux to get his Thousands game. The problem with that is that they don't necessarily have number 1 draft picks. So they're going to need to have players coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's
that takes time. That takes time. Like, you don't want to be doing that in the last hour of the trade deadline, go back and forth on what prospects are going to go back. You want to get your guys that you're going to get back and be able to, like, not just settle because the clock is ticking and go, oh, okay, I'll take that guy or this guy. You want to go back and forth a little bit on, hey, no, you can't have this guy, but how about, give me this guy, and it takes time, and I don't want it to be rushed. I'd rather get the most. If you have 5 or 6 teams right now that are vying for a guy, you're liable to get a better deal than waiting till the last minute and only having 2 teams, going after them and one saying, we'll just get this other guy over here real quick and let this team go ahead and have them, and I want to get, obviously the Flyers need it, the most that they can for Giroux, moving forward, because I think the cabinet is bare in the prospect pool for the Flyers.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of guys haven't, we talked about it ad nauseum before. I don't think that the cabinet is as stacked with top end talent that the Flyers think that it is.
See, I think that is a key statement right there, Lance. I really do. I think that is one of the key statements because I try to be objective when I look at things analytically. You know what I mean? And when I watch other teams play and then I watch the Flyers play, and it's like it's a completely different situation. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different setup. It's like, you keep hearing the coach say he wants to, the guys to try to play within the system. Yeah, well, what system? Like, what is your system? At one point, you see the guys all standing there at the blue line waiting for guys to come in. And then the other time, you see everybody sag back all at once. Well, I don't, I mean.
I'll say this from being up in the press box and, having some discussions with some of the other writers this past week. We were talking about how players, it's different from other teams. Other teams have great young talent vying for a roster spot, pushing guys out of the way. And I really don't see Philadelphia doing that. Instead, the guys that are really pushing for a roster spot even next season, a full-time basis, are guys like Patrick Braun and Zach McEwen, who came in off the waiver wire and really have fought hard to earn a spot. And that's the difference, guys. It's not a top-end prospect that the team has been developing. It's guys that we've had to take off the junk heap of other teams and have really came in and just outperformed, a lot of the Flyers prospects like Morgan Frost and others. But have output even guys that are regular roster players. And that's the big difference with Jerry Mayhew as well, being one of the bright spots on the team right now. He was never thought to be a player that could come in or expected to come in and really be a full-time player at any point. Yes, there's injuries that have occurred, and that's why he's gotten his chance, but he's really made a name for himself and stuck around. When you think that, other Flyers prospects that are first and second round picks would really be taking control of that, not some guy in his late 20s, early 30s. That has been a career AHL player. That he shouldn't be looked to have to do that.
Exactly. That's the thing where I think there's too much. It just seems like folks feel like there's way more talent on the Flyers than what there really is. And it just seems like I don't even know how to put it into words. I mean, it's like you see flashes, but you don't see the consistency, and then you see mistake, and you don't see the player learn, or you don't see the player progress, and then you actually see them regress a little bit, or and it's like, but this guy was supposed to be so. I really think that it has to be something within the Flyers organization, because you can't tell me that every single one of these players that they have brought in within the last 7 years, okay, Frost, Radcliffe, Rubasov, the list just goes on and on.
Pascal Labarge, yeah.
But guys that have been drafted and were thought to be this, great talent. I mean, you have to put Nolan Patrick in that list. You have to put Morgan Frost in that list. You have to put Sanheim in that list. You got to put all these guys that had all these expectations, and then they just never got there. Like it just never happened.
I think Tyson Forrester is slowly working his way on that list as well. Yes, he's still very young, but I think he has regressed in his since turning pro. That first season he really was out there doing it, and he's been a little injured, banged up.
I was going to say he's had some injuries,
right? But I really think once he hit the Phantoms, like he's regressed a little bit, even when he was healthy. And same thing with Morgan Frost, same thing with Isaac Ratcliffe, and guys that were elite talent coming in, and they just kind of their progression stopped when they hit the AHL, and
or they hit the Flyers,
right? Or when they came up and played with the Flyers, yeah.
But I mean, since they've come to the Flyers, like you that's what I was trying to say. Within the last 6 or 7 years, these players that have been drafted were looked at as good prospects and, all that and the whole 9 yards, and they just never panned out. They just never worked, and it's frustrating now, because you thought, well, yeah, the Flyers had all this great depth, and well, where is it? Because it ain't there, so. Another great article there, Lance, with dealing with Giroux. I think that he's going to see his 1000th game in an orange and black, and then I believe they're going to. I mean, I just have this strange feeling that he's not going to take a deal. I just have this strange feeling that he's just going to stick around, that he's going to just say, all right, well, just re-sign me next year to whatever you can do, and I'll just retire here in Philadelphia.
He's comfortable with the mediocrity here. Yeah. It's frustrating. I could see that wholeheartedly. I could see him just sticking around here and saying, "Hey, you know what? I think we're going to battle through it and we're going to win some games." And that's why I fear even people coming back healthy now, starting to come back healthy with Broussard and others, Wade Allison and Kevin Hayes slowly coming back again. I fear we're going to win a couple of games in this next, little less than a month away from the trade deadline, and he's just going to say, you know what, I'll just stay. And he's going to be doing the team a disservice. He's going to be doing the organization a disservice by that, because we really need to take advantage of what we can get for him. Because I think the team is going to be right back where they are this season if he resigns here.
I agree with you on that, but it's funny because that's going to be a perfect segue into the next article that you wrote, which was just posted to FlyersNittyGritty.com just the other day, and an intriguing Flyers trade piece where who is now being named in talks and could bring back a monumental return. And the writer extraordinaire has just about put everyone on the trade block with this one. And I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Of course.
Not me, the team.
No, I know. But I'm so with you on that. You know what I mean? Because you do bring up some very mighty interesting trade ideas. That's for sure. So let's dive in, shall we?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to just mention names, and I'll let you discuss what you wrote in the article about said name. All right?
Okay. Sure.
All right. So your favorite and my favorite in the world, the one who in the last 3 years now has not missed a single bloody game and has been the most consistently, if not wretchedly slow, turnover machine, horrible defensive player, has been consistently that for the last 3 years. Your favorite and mine, Dustin Brown.
So, Justin Braun, I know we talk about him a lot. We don't really care for him too much, but he has been asked way too often to have to step up again as he's playing with Provorov right now. He is a third pairing defenseman, and the team has relied on him because Ristolina can't be trusted to be up on the top pairing with Ryan Ellis being out. So Justin Braun has come up and
they're not even trying him. They're not even trying him.
Yeah, I think they did for a couple of games, and that was about it. I think they think they get more from him playing with Sanheim, but it's Justin Braun is 35 years old. He's an unrestricted free agent after this season. I do think the Flyers finally move, past him, and they've just been entrusting way too much into him and relying on him way too much. But at the same token, I think that some teams who have been named, Carolina, Boston, Toronto, and now even Nashville, have been linked to him.
Nashville, yeah. What about St. Louis? I've heard of St. Louis too.
I haven't seen St. Louis, but doesn't mean they aren't. He's a right-hand shot defender, so we all know that's a little coveted anyway.
No matter
and
what,
he has playoff experience with San Jose. He's a trusty guy, and I do believe he can be.
He's a good teammate.
He's a good teammate. I think he was really disheartened and stuff in the press conference. You could see it in his face that he's about tired of losing, and I think he would be. Me speaking for him, I think he would welcome a trade right now to try to win something and play in the playoffs right now. And I think that if he does get moved, I think a team would not play him over expectations like the Flyers have been doing. and they'll slot him in where he belongs, at a bottom pairing, and maybe on a penalty kill, a second penalty killing unit. I think that's where he deserves to be.
And not on the roster every single night.
Well, I mean, I think he could play every single night as long as it's on a third pairing, not moved up in the lineup and having to go against the Connor McDavids,
less than 10 minutes a night.
the Alex Ovechkins of the world, where Connor McDavid is blowing right by him, because the guy is 35 versus the fastest player in the league. That's not where he is. If you play him where he is at this point in his career as a third pairing defenseman, he's a solid third pairing defenseman. He is what he is. But the Flyers have just played him over expectations. So I do think that they could get a mid-level pick from this guy. If somebody is hurt, or if they just see they need some depth on that right side, it's a lot easier to find a left-hand shot defenseman, but it's very hard to find a right-hand shot guy that can eat up, some 9, 10, 12 minutes a game. And for a playoff push, maybe I'd be willing to do that for a 4th, 5th round pick, maybe 3rd if the team is desperate.
All right, I can see that. Okay, I'm with you on that. Look, either way you slice it, as long as the guy goes.
Yes.
Right? Okay, I don't freaking care, right? As long as he goes. Yeah. Okay? So now the next one on your list that you have in your article is Martin Jones. And he was the backup goaltender that was signed this past offseason to a 1-year contract, and I believe it was $3.5 million or something.
No, 2 something. Yeah, two
something.
Yeah, 2 something. So Martin Jones was a fairy tale signing to try to bring back something that him and goalie coach Kim Dillaball had in LA, where they won a Stanley Cup when he was backing up Jonathan Quick. It has not gone so great. With that, Philadelphia thought they could bring him in. He's still relatively young, in his early 30s.
Yeah.
And, they thought he would be okay. But as of right now, the team has not been the greatest this season with injuries and all that. And at the point I wrote this article, he was a 3.51 goals against average with a less than 900 save percentage. And that's not going to get it done.
No.
But at the same time, he's playing for a really bad team right now, and we'll have to see. But there's a lot of goalies out there. Mentioned 3-time Stanley Cup winning Marc-Andre Fleury is available. Anton Nedobin, who carried the Stars throughout the 2020 playoffs, is available. Said to be available. He's getting long in the tooth as well. Columbus's Jonas Corposalo are all available at the trade deadline this year. So that doesn't bode well for the Flyers. But if some
I don't like that list.
Yeah, that's a pretty good list for guys trying to acquire a backup goaltender. But all those guys, I think, will be traded before Jones. And somebody that's in a pinch might go after him late, maybe on a end of the day deadline, deal. But I don't expect more than a 5th round pick coming back for him. He's got a contract that's expiring, and he's not going to come in and be a catalyst to anybody's team. Me personally, I think that they should have snuck him on Edmonton's plane and realize it when he got back there in Edmonton and just say, "Oh, hey, my bad. Just give me a pick or a couple broken sticks for him. Who cares?" At this point.
Man, all right. Tell us how you really feel about that one. I don't know, man. I don't really want to see any of those goaltenders that you mentioned. I really want to see Ivan Fedotov in. In fact,
that's fine. I was saying those are the ones that are available this trade deadline for other teams to pick up.
Okay.
At the trade deadline. So before Jones got traded or gets traded, I think all those
Yeah,
goalies
these
are
other
going to be
goalies are going to
traded
go
for
for.
first.
Yeah. I'm with you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I don't even look. We all believe that Philadelphia is going to be sellers at the deadline or before or whatever the case is, and especially probably in the off season as well too. I think is what's going to really be the case here too. So the other name that you mentioned in your list here, and the next couple of names that we're going to mention here really brought a little bit of ire to some of the folks that were reading the article. And the first name on the list is Rasmus Ristolina.
So Ristolainen, the Flyers paid dearly for a guy that they thought they needed with a right-hand shot to come in, really a second pairing defenseman to play with Sanheim after they dealt Myers. And he's a big physical guy. The Flyers needed that on the back end. They didn't have it. They weren't physical at all. They were getting pushed around. They had guys standing in front of the net all the time, and nobody to clear it out, nobody to win puck battles. And Ristolainen will do just all those all those things. They gave up a first-round pick. They gave up a second-round pick, and they gave away their most physical defenseman in Robert Hagg. So that was, of course, head scratcher for me anyway. If you wanted to get more physical, why would you give away your most physical defenseman? But that's neither here nor there. That's in the past. But Ristolainen is in the last year of his contract, and coming from Buffalo, he really wanted to play off on a playoff contending team, which, with all of the signings and trades and all the moves that the Flyers made this past offseason, it looked that the Flyers would be just that. But it clearly aren't this season, and it has been rumored that Ristolainen was offered a deal somewhere in the $6 million range, or upwards of $6.5 million a year for multiple years, somewhere between 3 to 6. Really, it's been just rumored. I can't confirm a set number. I haven't seen a set number, but that's what has been rumored, and he has turned it down. So I don't think that the Flyers are gonna increase that deal. I think that was far too much to even offer Ristolainen to return, especially when you have a guy in Ellis who you're paying $6 million plus a year to not play right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you might potentially have to think about going out there and getting a top pairing defenseman, right-hand shot defenseman again, because you don't know the extent of this injury with Ryan Ellis, or if he's going to come back and get re-injured right again. I don't think you can go into next season and trust that he's going to be your guy on the right side, especially since he has played 11 to 13 seasons in the NHL now, and really has only been healthy and played 82 games once in his career.
Yeah.
I think that was a folly by Chuck Fletcher to bring that guy in. He's phenomenal when he's on the ice, but when is he on the ice? So,
that's what we need.
Right. Trading Ristolainen at this point seems to be the only option to be able to get back at least something. You're not going to get back what you gave up for Ristolainen, but at this point, you got to get something back so he just doesn't walk and go elsewhere next season. And here you've spent or gave up a first, a second, and more for him for one season in which you didn't even make the playoffs, let alone win a Stanley Cup.
I mean, yeah. So, look, I really would like to keep Ristolainen. I really wish that the Flyers, I like his game. I like his snarl. He's a really big dude. You know what I mean? And I really would like to see him continue on in an orange and black uniform. Unfortunately, I just don't see that in the cards moving forward, whether it's because he wants too much money or this is not a winning enough team for him yet, or whatever the case is. I just don't foresee Ristolainen playing for Philadelphia next year. And that's a real shame, because he is one of those type of quality players that Philadelphia needs to have. in order to get to where they need to get to.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
it was nice to have a guy that, could play that. I'm not comparing him to these guys because he's not them, but that Darian Hatcher or Chris Pronger type game that he can be trusted to go and do all those things that I previously mentioned that the team was lacking for some time now. So, I would love to have him back, but definitely not at over $6 million. He is not that. He's a number 3. Right now, he is playing as the team's number 4 defenseman. So, no, thank you. On a
money.
plus $6 million, try to get what you can for him.
Yeah, with you. And there's going to be a team out there that will pay that money.
Sure.
For him, so he's basically going to walk, and so I agree. I think you might as well try to get something for him now because what you've already given up so much to get him to come, and now you're not going to be able to re-sign him.
Well, I think that was a wrong play by Chuck Fletcher again. It was great addition, but if you were gonna if Buffalo wanted if Buffalo wanted that much for him at the time you made the deal, then he should have said, okay, but let me talk to him first and let me try to re-sign him. Or if we acquire him, let me give you a conditional pick where if we do re-sign him, I'll make it a first round pick and not just a second.
Or there you go.
Something to those regards, I think that should have been done, like, or asked at least, and who knows what was said between the two, but that really hurt that you're going to give up that much for a guy for one season and not have the guarantee that he's going to re-sign.
And that's why I don't want Chuck to be in charge of moving the team forward. Mm-hmm. And I don't want him anywhere near making any of the decisions for anything, whether it be hockey operations or general manager or whatever. I think he should be leaving the building. Like the sign guy says, start the bus. Right? So, all right. Next guy on the list, and this one here is another one that has raised a lot of ire as well too. And Lance, I got to tell you something, man. I'm in 100% agreement with you on this. So we're talking about Travis Konechny. I just think he needs to be somewhere else.
Well, listen, I got a lot of flack for this, guys. Listen, guys, Travis Konechny is one of my favorite players.
Agreed.
When I play out from the net, I play just like him. I am an agitator. I am the guy in somebody's ear the whole time. I'm that annoyance.
Love his game.
Out on the ice and getting those players' attention off of the play and onto me. And I love his tenacity, his grit, and his heart. We'll say it because this is a family program. But but
you could say thrustles.
Right.
That's Greek for guts.
Cojones. But this guy is the heart and soul for the Flyers. I think that he gets them riled up to really keep going and playing when they do decide to play that way. But this is not my decision to say that. This is rumored that the Flyers have been talking about trading him. It's not my decision and saying me throwing his name out there because I really like this kid. But I agree with you, Steel. I do think he would benefit from moving elsewhere. He has 3 seasons in which he scored 24 goals back-to-back seasons. And, he has hit 50 to 60 points numerous seasons before, but that hasn't been in the last 2 years. And even Travis is coming out now.
3 actually, because in the playoffs in the bubble, he completely disappeared, man.
So it's frustrating, but even Travis is saying now that yes, he is 3rd or 4th in points on the team, but they're all assists, and he does feel that he needs to really get back to a shoot first mentality. He doesn't know why he's gotten away from it, but I think that when it wasn't going in for him for so long at the beginning of the season and even last season, he kind of was hesitant to really shoot the puck because he wanted, obviously to do something that was going to help the team win a game. And if his shot wasn't there and wasn't going in for him, maybe a pass to Giroux or somebody else that it was going in for, would be a benefit. So in saying that, I think that it has been rumored that the LA Kings have been in discussions with the Flyers about acquiring him. And, it would make sense to me. And for me, Travis, who's only 24 and has a $5.5 million cap hit, reminds me a lot of a certain someone on LA who's getting a little long in the tooth. And that is Dustin Brown. He's 37 years old. He is that same feisty player. He will finish his checks. He will stand in front of the net. He will get under your skin. He will drop the gloves if he has to. Maybe more so in previous years. He's, like I said, he's 37 years old now. But the Kings have won 2 Stanley Cups with him. And that tenacity, that grit is just what Travis could bring. I think him moving away from the Flyers and playing with some different players and regaining his confidence, I see Konechny, flourishing again somewhere else, though. And I could really see why LA wants somebody like him. A lot of their Stanley Cup winning core with Kopitar and, Quick and Drew Doughty, all those guys are getting older. They're not going to be there forever. And possibly some of them, like Braun, who's not signed after this season, could be slowly on their way out of there. So the Kings have a lot of youth coming. They have potentially the best, or arguably the best prospect pool of any team in the NHL right now. The Flyers could benefit from stealing quite a few players for Konechny. Konechny is not an expiring player at the end of the season. He is signed for at least 3 or 4 seasons after this. He is only 24. He's not some 30-plus-year-old free agent. So he has a lot to offer. He could play with this team and give them a chance. I think they're second in the Pacific right now, the Kings are, and really give them a chance of somebody to add into their current roster to come in and try to make a playoff push this year. Maybe one last big push with this same core that they've had for so long. And then after these guys slowly start to retire or move elsewhere in their twilight years, he could really help that youth, that core, be a building block.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
And how to play the game the right way. Konechny plays the game the right way. He goes out there and never takes a shift off.
That's true.
He really is a guy to look up to in that locker room. He doesn't like to lose. He hates to lose.
He has a chip on his shoulder.
He has a chip on his shoulder. And that is just what young players coming into this league need to play like.
I agree with you 100%. Now, I know that there was a little bit of flack for that and everything like that, but look, let's face the facts here. This team is at a point now where there's nobody that is not on the block. Mm-hmm. There is nobody that is not up for reassessment, reevaluation, and or trade and or waived or whatever the case is. At this point, it's basically, we're doing whatever we can to make this team better. And if you ain't with us, then you're packing.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you the rumors, that I hear up there in the press box. Konechny was rumored or at least looked at to be moved in the offseason, this past offseason, because of his lack of goal scoring and everything else. Look, an assist is great, and being that feisty guy out there is great, but he re-signed a pretty hefty deal of, and when you re-sign that kind of a deal and are paid that kind of money, you're expected to score and be, that contributing factor on a regular basis, and he hasn't been. So like I said, it wasn't my idea, guys. I really like
No, I
Konechny, and
know.
I
I'm
want him
with
to
you.
do the
Yeah.
best, and I want him to turn it around. But I think Chuck Fletcher is really debating, whether he should have re-signed him for that deal, and
I'm with you.
rightfully so at this point. So,
Well, if they do pull the trigger on Konechny, I know you mentioned two guys that would be really nice additions from the LA Kings that could be brought in for Konechny. And the first name you mentioned is Brant Clark. And well, I, I
I
don't
get
think
you.
that's going to
I
happen
get
as
you.
a
I
one
get
for
you. But
one.
listen. No, I get you. Clark has the potential to be a number one defenseman in the future, and if the Flyers were able to get this guy, um, he he would be a instant 10 to 15-year player right along with Cam York on the opposite side of Cam York. He is that good, but I name him only because LA has named him as a possible trade piece. I really think that they see this team that they had, this group of players, um, really as coming to an end. They know that's coming, so this is where it's at now, and they may be willing to trade somebody as good as Clark to be able to have one more chance at this. Um, and run on this for one more time. And that's why I put Clark's name out there. I don't think that if I was a GM, I would not trade Clark. I think that they have other pieces on the back end, Jordan Spence or Helgi Grams,
Yeah.
or even Tobas Bornfoot. Brock Faber. There's a lot of other defensemen. If a Flyer, they have a lot of right-hand shot defensemen too, which Clark is. That I would initiate in a trade before Clark. But I think the Kings are a little desperate. They see that window closing for them, and they feel like they do have the depth at offense, at defense, and now even at goaltending. They're starting to get some good quality goaltenders, and seeing that Quick is getting up there in age as well. So to be able to let somebody go, and you gotta, I reiterate this, Konechny is not that quintessential 32, 33-year-old impending free agent that you're making a trade for at the deadline. He is a guy that's 24 years old who's going to be there for another 10 years. And he's, a guy that's has proven himself to score over 20 goals multiple years in the NHL. So a prospect is still a prospect. As good as Bryant Clark is, he's still a prospect until he can prove himself on a regular basis in the NHL. And
give me a season in the
right,
NHL.
right. Give me a season in the NHL and light things up, and maybe that tune will change. But I think the Kings are between a rock and a hard place here if they want to compete for another real shot.
Yeah, because they're not doing too bad this year. They're actually in contention, I believe, out west to potentially make the playoffs this year.
For sure, they're number 2 seed in the Pacific right now, last time I checked. So they have a great mix of those veterans that are still hanging around there, Stanley Cup winners, and the amount of youth starting to slide into their everyday NHL roster. It's a great mix right now, but there's still maybe that one or two players away.
I'm with you. And Konechny might be one of those players that would work out there in LA. You know what I mean? That just might work for him. Because honestly, I never really saw him fitting in here with Philadelphia. I mean, even though I like his game and he plays with snarl and he's one of those pests and bothers and all that other stuff, I just never saw him as anything more than that. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I mean, you're once again, the Flyers putting more emphasis on a player's quote unquote talents than what they really have. Do you know what I mean?
I think they wanted him to develop and to be a first line player, and he's not a first line player. he's a 20-goal scorer in the NHL multiple seasons, but I don't think he's a first-line player. In saying that, I do think he could help a team greatly. And I think he would fit in well with the Kings and what they have coming up the pike. So
I'm with you, man, for sure. For sure. You also mentioned one other name too. That's Samuel
Fagamo. Fagamo is what they call.
Fagamo. Okay, all right.
He's Swedish, yeah.
But another name that could also be part of that deal as well with connecting. Look, there's plenty of guys in LA that could be, the part of anything that comes across. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're talking about here.
They have depth.
But we're not just talking about just with, this article and with Travis Konecny going somewhere or Ristolina going somewhere or Martin Jones going somewhere. We're talking about Giroux going somewhere. And what is this team's return going to be? They can't be waving these types of players out there and be expecting to get these, fourth, fifth line, prospect guys, or we need top line guys. We need top prospect guys. We need guys that are ready to go right now, that are ready to play and contribute right now.
Right. If you want to go after, like Chuck has said so often, an aggressive retool, you trading a guy like Giroux, you better get something back for him now. I don't want a draft pick, even if it's a first. I don't want a draft pick at this point. We can't develop him correctly right now. I want a guy who's NHL ready next season, and LA has a plethora of those players. You're not going to get Byfield. Valerdi, no. Turcotte's injury prone. I like Arthur Kovalev. Dolan's out there. Madden, Chromiak. They have so many guys. Capure. But the guy that I like the most, and who's not really on some of those players' level just yet, is Samuel Fagamo. And he's 21 years old now. He's about the size, a little bit bigger than Konecny, but a little bit more solid. But he's a Swedish forward. He came from the playing in the SHL for a couple of seasons. He's played in there since he was a kid. He's played professional against men, in professional leagues before coming over to the AHL where he's playing now. And he's an absolute sniper. He has a slap shot. He has a wrist shot. He has everything, every kind of shot you can imagine. He has it. He's a workhorse. Ever since he was the age of like 5 or even less, he was on the ice every day. All he's ever wanted to be is a hockey player, and that's what we need. He had a phenomenal showing at the 2020 World Juniors, where he scored 8 goals for 13 points in 7 games. For Sweden. He's tearing it up for the Ontario Reign right now. I think he has, at the time I wrote this article, 17 goals on the season. And really just every game he's looking more and more like that true professional that could make a jump next year. And the Flyers need it. They need a shoot first guy. We don't have that. We've talked about that ad nauseum too. Where's the Gagnes? Where's the Jeff Carters? That's what we need. We need somebody that's going to shoot the puck every time they get it on their stick. And it's going to be a quality chance because they're not just shooting from the boards. They have the talent to get inside.
Behind the goal line or something, yeah.
Right, they have the talent to get inside. And while I think Fagamo has the talent enough to jump up next season, he would be a nice piece to build upon and already be there when Forrester, Wisdom, Desjardins, Brink, Connor McLennan. There is some youth coming up in this Flyers that have potential, but I think Fagamo is ready now and could help the Flyers next season.
Yeah.
And be that exciting player to still bring fans in. Do I think he's going to be the next Giroux to take that place? No. but he has the potential to be a 20-goal scorer in the NHL, a top 6 player for sure on the Flyers. And I really think that they could get him as a throw-in piece. Maybe you don't get Clark, but maybe you get another right-hand shot defenseman. But I think that there needs to be more than just one person coming back.
Yeah.
If you're going to trade Konechny, there needs to be somebody else coming back than just one player. And that's the type of deal that you need to make with a team like LA, who has a plethora of talented players ready to go next season, or even starting to break into the NHL roster this season.
There's all kinds of scenarios, and these are just a few, and I'm just hopeful that whatever happens, the team gets some good players in return instead of retreaded over the hill guys. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm not looking very forward to Chuck being the one to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, this season, like we said before, he filled this roster again with dinosaurs. Brassard, and Yandel, and all these guys sounded pretty good on paper in the fall, but these guys are mid-30s. I'd rather see some young players come in that are talented, that are going to build upon themselves and continue to develop and get those looks and play with a youthful speed and talent, rather than guys that are broke down and not contributing every night.
Exactly.
I'd rather see some raw talent that is going to take some time to develop. At least it's coming.
Exactly.
Rather than just filling the roster with guys that are delaying some of our own prospects chances at developing further.
Exactly. I'm with you.
If we're gonna grow and work on being a better team, I'd rather bring the team's youth up and let the kids play.
Let's go. I mean,
that's what every other team does. That's what
exactly.
Every other
let
team
those
does.
guys learn together. Let those guys learn how to, lose together. Then once you learn how to lose together, then you learn how to win together.
Look how many names are on LA's AHL team right now. They have brought instead of playing guys, like Fagamo could still be over in the SHL developing. But what did LA do? They brought all their youth, brought all their guys over, Helgi Grans and everything, and put them together. Put them all together. They're all first, second, third round picks. Instead of playing all over the world, they said, we want you in our backyard right now so we can keep an eye on you, and we want you playing together. So even if they take a year, 2, 3 years to develop, they've been developing together. So once they make the jump all to the NHL, they may not all.
Yeah.
They already know each other. They've already been playing together, rather than coming from one league and coming from another country.
Yeah.
When it's
from
their
all
time,
over the planet. Yeah.
They've been building together for years already. So that's just, I don't know, common sense. Like, it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
does it?
right.
Does it make sense to you? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. I'm with you. So, let us in on any upcoming articles. Any what you got boiling in the kettle there, buddy?
I have some more hidden gems in this upcoming draft.
Yes. Oh my gosh, because we got draft coming up here real soon too.
We got a draft coming up, and obviously with the way the Flyers are playing right now,
doggies.
Why not look to the future and hope to get some drafted players in here? So I have some hidden gems. Obviously, it's easy to look at the first round, and anybody can really pick. Hey, I missed out on this guy. This team drafted him that I wanted to pick. I can pick this guy. I'm going to settle for him. But it gets a lot harder in the later rounds, and there's a lot of hidden gems this season that need to be looked at a little farther. We've already talked about one with Connor Kurth and had him on our show. And maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, after I get this article out, maybe I'll be able to get one or two of these guys to come on the show in the future. I don't know.
Hey, man, it seems like when you write articles about them, next thing you know, hey, they're on the show. All right. So, Lance, thanks for all you do, man. Really appreciate it, dude. You write great articles. You cover the team very well. You do a lot of great stuff for Flyers Nitty Gritty and our Lear articles and everything. Where can we find you? Where can we get you? And where can we get all those great articles?
So as always, guys, you can always find my articles on Flyers Nitty Gritty, SteelFlyers.com. Our show, the Hockey Writers Inc., is always on SteelFlyers.com, YouTube, any outlet you can imagine in the podcast world or audio. Yep. You can catch us. If you don't want to look at our ugly faces, you can, listen to us.
Whoa,
and And I'm on Twitter at LNGBASSIST, the number 39.
Awesome sauce. Just like Lance said, man, we are on all of your podcasting platforms, from iHeartRadio to Apple to Google to Amazon, Spotify, Anchor, you name it, we're out there. We're on it. We got you covered. The Hockey Writers Inc. is there for you guys to listen to no matter what. Please check us out. Please hit the like and subscribe. Once again, we're going to have a special. If you retweet and follow, this puts you in the running for a T-shirt. You get 2 T-shirts, whatever size you want. It's gray or a charcoal, right, for this one. And then you get the black one, right, which is this one right here, right? So you get 2 free T-shirts, right? All you have to do is retweet and follow, and then that puts you in the running. And then when we get one, we'll pick it out, and then we'll let you know. And you guys just send us the information. We'll get you guys a T-shirt. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for checking us out. We'll catch you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers